about why she did certain things certain ways, or who this was in this image, or whatever, you know. So it's a great evening. I encourage you to be a part of it. I'm really thankful to the Downtown Boone Development Association for taking that idea and really developing it and running with it. It's a real great thing. I also want to thank the Cheap Joes, because without their support, we could not afford to have our galleries. And so we're very, very grateful to them for that opportunity. The Jones House Community Center is the home of the Watauga County Arts Council. It's where our galleries are located. It's actually owned by the town of Boone, and we're very grateful for that partnership as well that enables us to be there. And we're right in the center of downtown, the big white house on the hill, right next to Mass General Store. And why don't you start your art crawl there? Come see us, come enjoy some refreshments, meet Emma, and then just make a total evening of it all through downtown Boone. The Arts Council's website, watauga-arts.org, has this and so many other things that we are involved with all throughout the community. Please stay in touch with us and with the arts. I'm Cherry Johnson, Watauga County Arts Council. And yes, it's summer, but it's that time of year when we have lots of musicians and lots of concerts, and that's a great thing. The concerts on the lawn are in full swing, but also all through the year we keep our galleries going. We have new exhibits in our galleries this month, in the month of July. We have upstairs in the Open Door Gallery, the students of John Bond from Art Mart. John is involved with the Arts Council. He's very active with the Arts Council, and so we roped him in and said, we've got to share some of your students' work. So that's going to be upstairs. And of course, our senior gallery always has lots and lots of wonderful things created by some of the senior adults in the community through the Lois Harrell Senior Center. But in the Maisie Jones Gallery, we have some great portraits. I'm very impressed, Isaac. This is Isaac Wingfield, and he's the artist of the month in Maisie Jones Gallery. And you're a photographer.
Yes.
And you do black and white? All black and white, or just some black? Are we just seeing only your black and white of this exhibit?
I do primarily black and white. I like the simplicity of it and the way that it kind of breaks down the image into a simpler way for the viewer to understand it.
Right.
And it's also a little more classy, I think.
It is. It's very classic, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. His portraits are people, and each one of them is named, I assume, by the name of the person in the portrait.
That's right.
Where do you get your subjects, and what prompts you to do what you're doing?
I kind of get them from all over, I guess. A lot of them are people that I know. Some of them are people that I've just run into, basically.
You just thought they'd make a good picture?
Just something about them is kind of intriguing, or I think there's something there that I want to try and bring out in a portrait.
Now, when you're looking for something like that, what are you hunting for? Do you have any idea, or is it just something you just know?
I mean, it's something, there's something there, and I have an idea what it is, but it's kind of hard to
verbalize?
Hard to verbalize, hard to explain it, and I think that's why I end up photographing.
Okay.
Because I want to get that out, but I don't exactly know how to say it.
And that's exactly why people need to come see the work.
Yeah.
So they can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Also, now you're a graduate of ASU, I understand.
Yes.
In the technical department?
Yeah.
Technology?
The Department of Technology.
And you studied photography?
Yes.
And then you've been working with ASU, you told me.
Yes. I've been working in the Creative Services Department, doing photography for the university.
Lots of folks know Troy Tuttle's name, and you've worked with Troy for some time. And then you've exhibited other places in the area, I understand.
Yes. I had an exhibit last year in the Catwalk Gallery up in the Turchin.
Oh, yeah.
And I've also shown on the campus of Appalachian, and a few other places I've had pieces up in a group show. I've also got a couple of pieces in the Turchin in a group show right now.
Oh, good.
That opens this weekend.
Okay, so you're going to have a busy weekend.
Yeah.
So where are you from, and how did you get started in photography, of all things?
I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, and gosh, how did I get started? About the age of 16, I guess, is what I usually say. I just got really interested in it and got my first camera. My dad had done it some, and still does to an extent, just kind of play around with it, and he's an architect, so I kind of grew up with that artistic sensibility, and I just got really interested in it, and so I got a camera and started basically doing my own thing. I was homeschooled, and so I had a lot of freedom to kind of do what it was that I wanted to do.
That's interesting. Okay.
So that's kind of how I got started, and the farther into it I got, and the more I played around with it, the more I found that portraiture is what really drew me, just because of the dynamic between the viewer and the photographer, and between the viewer and the subject and the photographer, and sometimes when I'm photographing more than one person, between the two people in the frame, you know.
Now, where do you want to take this? What is it you want to do?
There's kind of three different things that I like to do. I'd like to keep showing in galleries, kind of the more artistic end of things. I'd like to build up some commission work for people, and then also editorial, working for magazines, and so on. So right now I'm kind of in the process of working towards moving to New York and working in the industry up there. Probably in the next couple years I'll be looking at trying to get my MFA.
And take it from there.
Yeah.
That's very great. Now, you have your work up through the month of July. You also have a website. What is your website?
It's iwingfield.com.
Wingfield.com. iWingfield, like Isaac.
Right.
Got it. And what's on your website? Lots of examples of your work, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got a good sampling of my portraits, and then I've also got some other stuff that I've worked with, some imagery from contra dancing.
Really?
And it's actually, I played a little bit with the dynamic between the written word and the image.
Yeah.
And so I've got some poetry that I paired up with these images of the contra dance that kind of create this dynamic of its own.
Oh, interesting.
And I've also done that, one of the shows I had in the past with portraits, kind of creating this idea that's not quite there with just each one, but together they kind of come together to create a different idea.
Very interesting. You'll have to go check that out. I want to thank Cheap Joe's Art Stuff, because they support our galleries, and it really makes it possible for us to do the things we're doing with the visual arts. Also, don't forget that, as I said at the beginning of the interview, the concerts on the lawn are going on. On the 13th, coming up, is Matt Rue in the pre-show, who is a singer-songwriter. And then Brian McGee and Hollis Speed, which are doing bluesy and old-time songwriting. So you don't want to miss those. 5 o'clock for the pre-show, 5:30 for the regular show, sponsored by, well, the pre-show is sponsored by Mass General Stores, and the regular show is sponsored by Bernhardt, Downtown Boone Development Association, High Country Bank, and the Hayes Performing Arts Center. Please bring your lawn chair, come join us. Isaac's work will be up all through the month of July. Check out his own website, or you can link to it through the Arts Council's website, watauga-arts.org.
Special guest in with some, well, a variety of things to talk about this morning.
I'm Terry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and today I have with me John Bond. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, always see you.
Last time you were here, it was your own show.
Yes.
That you were showcasing. This time you're showcasing somebody else. Tell us about that.
Lots of people. We have about 17 young artists from the Art Mart Academy, and about 38 to 40 pieces up in the Jones House right now.
And the Open Door Gallery.
Yes.
And these are younger artists. These are mostly...
Ages 6 to 17.
Wow. Okay. And a lot of them are coming up with their families and visiting and sharing the exhibit with friends and whatever. It's some very, very good work. It's probably due to John's teaching, I would say. John,
due to their hard work and just a couple prompts and a little bit of teaching and a little bit of discussion, and then lots of freedom, and let them go.
Now, you own the Art Mart.
Yes.
And you expanded the Art Mart, what, about a year ago?
November.
And tell us about the expansion. What did you do?
We took over about a 1,200 square foot space next door to us and turned it into a complete teaching studio. It's a beautiful space. It's got a great atmosphere for teaching and for learning. And since we've done that, the kids and the adult classes, it's taken on a new life.
Took off.
They really
That's
feel
great.
it.
That's great. I've seen that space, and it is really, really neat. You've got big old windows, so you've got some natural light. but you've also got lots of just open space. And
We
that's
do.
what's really important.
Nobody's climbing over each other anymore.
Exactly. When you get dabbling in the merchandise trying to find.
Yeah.
So you still have your store adjacent, they connect. And in your store you sell an assortment of art supplies and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you are also an artist in your own right.
Yes.
And so when do you find time to do all of this?
Once I get a good idea from the kids, I take it home and I do it myself.
You know, I think a lot of teachers do that. They get inspiration from their students.
Yeah.
That's true. Now you've been, you were an ASU graduate, I believe?
Yes.
And how long have you been in this area?
I moved down here in 1988,
And down from where?
Philadelphia,
Wow.
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Came down, my father moving down to the mountains only. And went to school here and went off and taught public school for a couple years and private school and went out to Colorado and got the boomerang and came on back
Wow. And so
in
you did.
97.
So you weren't one of those that just stuck around and stayed. You actually went somewhere and then came back.
Yes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that about you. John's on our board of directors, and we've been working together that way for, what, about 2 years now?
2.5.
Yeah, and so he's an excellent board member, helps us with our galleries, and a lot of other stuff. But that's primarily your focus area is the galleries, I would say.
Yes.
And Jenny Schrum is our visual arts coordinator, and he and Jenny work really hard as a team to make sure that the exhibits get hung and so forth. And then you bring in other folks like Carmen Patella and Louise Harris and assorted people to come in and help out with the process. I do need to say that John's competitor, Cheap Joe's, is sponsoring our galleries, and so I think they have a really good relationship. Really neat people and really neat businesses that I think work well in companionship. You know, they say the best place to put a shoe store is next to another one, then you both succeed. So I think that sometimes one helps the other.
We're always on the phone with each other.
I'll bet you are. I'll bet you are. Now, they do classes as well, but I think that there's a growing market for people coming into this area looking for things like that. And then a lot of your students seem to be homeschool students.
We have some. We do teach a little differently than most art schools. We're more of an academy, teaching the principles and elements of art that it really takes a commitment from the students to come in and learn about art and stay with us perhaps a little bit longer, but our fees are reasonable. And really trying to give them the freedom to make art on their own and not be limited to just following directions and doing some things.
Which some classes tend to do. Tell me about some of the classes, opportunities that are coming up for folks who say, well, I'd like to try that. I'm willing to do this.
Well, we run our adult classes year-round, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings from 10 until 12. And it's a drop-in situation. It's nice to know when a new student comes in. But we get to know the students and get a game plan individually for each independent adult student.
Right.
And then we also have teen seminar classes and Art 1 classes for the younger kids. The next session for those sessions begins July 30th through August 3rd. It's once a day for 5 days. And then during the school year, we run once a week for 5 weeks.
Right.
And that next session would be sometime in September. Just give us a call.
And I recall from earlier conversations you and I have had that one of the first classes is kind of a multimedia approach.
Yes.
You try different things.
The Art 1 class is a survey of different art materials and usually turn out about 3 projects per 5-week course.
Right. One of which is hanging on my dining room wall. And then, from my son. And then after that, then they can focus in an area that interests them?
Once they get to the teen seminar level, which usually some students start in there around 11 or 12 years old, they find their particular choice of medium and find their direction. We have a little bit more intensive classes geared towards individual things.
Great. If you want to see what John's students are doing, you can always go by the Art Mart, of course, but you also can come to the Jones House, to the Open Door Gallery,
Please
and
do.
throughout the month of July. And how do they reach you? What's the best way to get in touch with you? Do you have a phone number?
828-264-3135.
Okay, and then your address is what?
It's 188 Boone Heights Drive. We're over behind the Burger King on 321.
Okay.
Just off of 321.
I encourage you when you go by to go by and actually meet John. He's usually there, and if he's not in the studio, he's in the shop or he's somewhere, you know. But he's around, and get to know him and come check out the classes, check out the work, check out the merchandise, and come by the Jones House. There's always wonderful exhibits there, and the Arts Council's website has lots of information about this and other things at watauga-arts.org. I'm Sherry Johnson, Watauga County Arts Council. Today I have with me Steve Knife. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
And we are very proud in the month of September to display the work of Steve's, the artwork. You have some wonderful paintings.
Thank you.
Very, we were just looking at some of his images, very restful looking images in a way, very soft, a lot of them. You like pastels, but I understand you also use some brighter colors as well. You use acrylic?
All acrylics.
And Steve, tell me about your work. What have you done? How did you get started painting?
Actually, I think I started really seriously considering painting back in the 60s when I was in school up here.
Really?
And took art classes as an elective. And Warren Dennis and Bill Spence and some of the other art people there really encouraged me.
Kind of see some influence from some of those
Yeah.
folks now that I think that. And so you, did you do art as a career all of your life?
No, I was a science teacher in Wilkes County. Kind of got started in science accidentally, got notified in August that by a school in Wilkes County that their science teacher had resigned, and I hadn't done student teaching yet or anything, and they kind of hired me on the last minute, and I was green as you could be. And
Sounds like it. Must have stuck though. You must have enjoyed doing it, and you must have done several years worth of
I did 30 years of science teaching. I had application in as an art teacher because I liked it so much, but they needed a science teacher first.
Now, were you certified to teach art?
Not really.
Okay.
But I'd had probably 15 or 16 hours in art, something like that.
Absolutely. And did you continue to do your art all those years?
And my art was one of these things that I would bring out and set up in the living room for, you know, a week or two, and then decided put it away because we were having somebody over, and it was not didn't have a location for it.
And moved to Boone or Watauga County?
Yeah, Boone, right outside of Boone.
You have now taken up a lot more painting, judging from the numbers of pieces we just looked at.
Oh yeah, I've been prolific.
Are you involved with any particular galleries or activities?
Well, I've had my work just a few pieces at a time around in different galleries. In North Carolina and over in Virginia, I had a few pieces for a while. But this is my first one-man show, so I'm really excited.
So while you were teaching, did you have opportunities to display your work?
Mostly in friends, and I had some in my school. And other than that, not really, because I would only produce, you know, like 2 or 3 at a time before I'd put my art stuff away.
Right, but it wasn't a big secret that people knew that you did paint.
Yeah, they knew that.
That's cool. All right, now have you taken any particular classes or any workshops or anything since then?
Not really. I did the stuff in the 60s, and I'm thinking about joining some local organizations that do that. Some of the watercolor people do allow acrylic artists
They do.
in.
That's
so
a water media. That's absolutely the truth. So yeah, I think they would welcome you to come in and be a part of it. We just had their work in August.
I know. I
on
talked to the
display.
lady yesterday who was there, Louise. I
Oh
believe.
yeah, Louise Harris. And now, what do you plan to do? I mean, you just plan to continue painting?
That's going to be what my goal is. Yes.
Do you intend to take this to another level as far as more exhibits or in specific places or directions?
I guess a lot of that will depend on what kind of reception I go, and hopefully it'll open up avenues other places.
Now, you said you would have loved to have been an art teacher. Do you think you're going to take up teaching?
I don't think so. I think when I gave that up after 30 years, that was
All taught out.
I cashed in my chips then.
I can understand.
this month. There's a reception coming up. I encourage you to come and see Steve's work anytime during the month of September, but specifically on September the 7th, you'll be there with us that evening.
Right.
And it'll be part of the downtown gallery crawl that we always have every first Friday of the month. The evening will be kicked off with Randy and Deborah Jean Sheets doing the concert on the lawn. It'll be the last concert on the lawn on a gallery crawl this year. We continue the concerts through the month of September, and then we'll have to pack them up for the winter, and we'll bring them back out again next year. Luckily, our galleries are open year-round, all through the week, Tuesday through Friday, and also by appointments if you need to see them. Gallery crawls the first Friday of every month. We're very, very fortunate to have the support of Cheap Joe's Art Stuff in keeping our galleries open. There's also wonderful shows upstairs in the Open Door Gallery. We always have our senior gallery going, and so I encourage you to come by the Arts Council and check all of those out. Also, let me remind you that there are some deadlines coming up. That same day, September the 7th, is the date that we will accept the last or this year's run of Regional Artist Project Grant applications. Also, grassroots grants are due that day. On September the 21st, anyone who is interested in applying for the position of Community Arts Education Coordinator needs to get their work into me. And then on September the 28th, we are accepting applications from artists who would like to be commissioned to create an artistic fence in the yard of the Jones house to surround those beautiful maple trees to help sustain their life just as long as we possibly can. The Arts Council has an active website. We're always making changes to it. We've got a great webmaster, Lee Ryan, who always does great stuff with it. I encourage you to go check it out, watauga-arts.org. You'll see some of the work from Steve's exhibit, but it's just not the same if you don't come by. So come by and check out the galleries. Come visit with Steve on the 7th, and stay in touch with the Arts Council.
Ladies have some very nice things on exhibit at the Jones house.
I'm Cherry Johnson, Watauga County Arts Council, and I want to welcome you back. I have with me two very talented artists. I have Marcia Holmes and Beth Andrews, and they have the most wonderful show in the Open Door Gallery of the Jones House Community Center during the month of September. And we've already had the gallery reception, and you girls just really had a mob coming to see your work. You really have an adoring audience, I can tell you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Marcia, I know part of that is because that you're the instructor for the senior center's arts classes. How long have you been doing that?
For about 3-4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm teaching both at the Western Watauga County Community Center and the Herald Center.
And we've talked before about you, and you have been painting, what, all of your life? And you studied art, and
Beth and I went to school together.
Oh, you did? I was getting ready to ask you, how did you find Beth? Okay.
We were roommates at UNCG.
Oh.
And then we went to school for a couple of years together, and then we kind of split and did our family things and school things and work and job things, and got back together last August.
Last August. It had been 26 years
Wow.
since we had seen or talked to each other. And
That's amazing. And it's like nothing happened in between. You're still just like you were then.
yeah, yeah.
I know
And-
how
and
it
in-
is.
And in very similar places, too, in terms of where we were with our artwork. You know, our children were grown, and we were able to devote more time and more energy and focus to really getting back, thinking about doing the art more seriously, and not just doing it, but completing it, framing it, and exhibiting it.
Right. Now,
And
were
the
you
show
both?
was a lot, you know, got us there.
I'm sure it is. It's a catalyst for a lot of artists to have to get it ready. I sort of know a little more about Marcia, but what about you?
Yeah. I've been a graphic artist and designer for the last 30 years, and doing I've done everything from illustrations. I used to be a Belk department store illustrator and doing pots and pans and fashions and things like that.
That's cool. I always used to look at those ads.
Well, it was fun. It was fun. And so, and graphic design has always been fun, but it's a different, you're still really creating someone else's vision of, for their business, you know, to help them be able to meet the public. So it's not exactly the same thing for me as doing my own artwork. It's not as, it's fulfilling in a different way.
Right. So now you're fully doing your own work, or are you also still doing some graphic design?
Still doing graphic design, absolutely. And, you know, I would love to think I could support myself with my painting. And,
Don't we all?
She did a pretty good job the other night.
She did. She's on a good start here.
But now where do you live now?
Well, I live in Fleetwood in Ashe County. And so part of the rediscovery thing when Marcia and I connected was finding out that we were both in the same county.
That
you know,
is
it
amazing.
was just extraordinary, you know, because neither one of us is from Ashe County or had connections to this county specifically. And,
Right.
And for us both to end up here, I think was a pretty amazing
That
thing.
is. It really is. It was meant to be. Now, Marcia, what have you been doing since you left her as a roommate?
Raising a family.
Raising a family. Did you
Yes, we-
teach?
yeah, and I had, we have a horse breeding farm out in Ashe County, so that required a lot of work.
Right.
And raising kids and doing a lot of art projects in between, you know, with the kids. I did a mural for Mabel's school during that time, and, you know, lots of other little things, mostly for the school.
Right.
And then, you know, my kids are all grown, and it was time for me to do my art now. So that's when, you know,
Very
Beth,
similar theme
yeah,
here.
Beth
Yes,
called me up, and it was like, you know, and we just started where we left off.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
your work has a similarity to it. I mean, you have slightly different styles, but yet there's a look that's kind of unifying. So the show comes across very well because you have a similar approach. And so
I think it's real compatible.
it is. That's a good word for it. That's a good
Well,
word.
Beth went to Italy, and that was her dream, to paint. So most of her paintings are from her trip to Italy. And mine are mostly from the farm in my house.
Yours are slightly more detailed than hers are. I think, you know, you have a little more precision about the little details than she does. And that's just a style, but that's just how you interpret things. And ironically, the artist that's downstairs is even looser in style than you are, far looser. And so we have 3 different degrees in the same exhibits during the month. So it's really kind of cool. Well, we are really, really glad to have your work here. And what is it you're going to be doing next? I mean, you can't stop now. This is not the ultimate.
Oh, no.
So where are you going now?
We've got a plan. We get together every week and paint with another artist, Tara Belk. And what's been emerging from this is how fun it is to look at our 3 different approaches to the same thing, and to you know, appreciate each other's perspective and style and working and perception of the thing that we're doing. And so we really would have been planning to do a show together and call it 3-Point Perspective.
Well, I hope I get to host that show at the Jones house. That would be fantastic.
Well, if we can get in on the calendar.
I know. It is getting hard to get in on the calendar.
That's what I hear. They've got a very full calendar.
She told me yesterday that she was booking 2009.
Oh, wow.
So we are starting to get very busy.
Wow. That's
Very
wonderful.
good. That is wonderful.
Well, and I have to give credit to somebody. Cheap Joe's Art Stuff makes it possible for us to do this. And we also have the senior gallery across the hall, which Marcia's quite familiar with. And that's where we showcase her students' work. And if it weren't for Cheap Joe's supporting our gallery expenses for all 3 of the galleries, we wouldn't be able to do the programming. So we're very grateful to them.
So thanks to Joe Miller.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do hope you'll make a point of coming by and seeing their work. You can see some of it online, but you can see it much, much better when you come in and visit. So come to the Jones House in downtown Boone and check the Arts Council's website, watauga-arts.org. We're involved in all kinds of things all through the community. I'm Cherry Johnson, Watauga County Arts Council, and today I have with me an old friend. This is Eric Rickard.
Good morning, Terry.
Thanks for coming back and talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
You're going to be working with us in the next few weeks
Yes,
to
ma'am.
put together a cool exhibit. I'm so glad you're doing this. You and your students, or your students?
It's mostly my students.
Okay.
We'll have a few teachers.
All right, we'll be doing the exhibit in the Open Door Gallery
Right.
during the month of December, and that's a stretched out month. I don't know if you could see them, but I got my blue jeans on, and that's a rare thing for me. And we're getting ready to decorate for the holidays at the Jones House, believe it or not. And so we're going to start decorating. Well, actually, we're already decorating as this is aired, and we will continue decorating right up to Thanksgiving. And just before Thanksgiving, we're going to put in your exhibit. Before we go talking about your exhibit, I want to say, anyone who'd like to come help decorate, all you got to do is come by or call us at 262-4576. We have jobs available that'll just take a few minutes, and it'll give you a chance to be part of the Christmas at the Jones House. So after we get the place all gorgeous for you, you're going to come in and you're going to put this artwork out. Now tell us about what we're going to get to see.
Well, Terry, this is the best kept secret in town, as I pointed out to you, and you suggested this show. It's called the Michael Patricelli Craft Enrichment Program. You've been a sponsor of the program for many years. You seem to know we're here, so by your suggestion, we're going to bring some work and show them what we do.
That's right, and it gives you a chance to see not only what they do, but what you can do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So what's going to be displayed? We got some gorgeous stuff here.
We're going to do, I just brought a few examples today. Of course, pottery is probably our most favorite classes. We teach 5 pottery classes, everything from beginning to advanced. So that's probably our biggest offering, and we have some examples of pottery here. This is one of our advanced students, and this is a hand-built pot, or slab pot, and she does wonderful work.
Unique.
Kate will be there.
There's
This
another
is
unique
also
one.
Kate.
Yes. Oh,
And
look
they
at
do
this.
textural pieces and the glazes. We have a class that does nothing but glazes.
Is that what this is about?
It's a
Tell me
whole
what
different
this is.
thing. This is something you may not be familiar
I'm
with.
not.
This is a new class. We just talked somebody into supporting us on this class. It's called Fusing and Slumping. And
We decided we're all good at slumping.
what we do is we take pieces of glass, and they have to be compatible glass, and that's what makes it expensive. But each color here is a piece of glass, or a layer of glass. Then we stack it
stack 'em up.
just like blocks, and then we put it in the kiln, and it fuses it all together so it's one thickness. Now we have one piece of glass.
And it slumps into one single piece.
Well, it's called fusing at this point.
Okay.
Where the slumping comes in is we take this piece and we put it in a mold, and it comes out like this, and we have our slumped piece.
Wow.
And it is
colors
it's
are
just
so
wonderful.
wonderful.
And the students come up with their own design. Excuse me for reaching here, but this one
I
is
love
pretty
this.
spectacular.
Yes, this is neat.
And we have all different shapes of glasses that only their imagination limits them in this class.
This
And like I
is
say,
so
this is a brand new class. We put $6,000 or $7,000 in it to get it going. Had some contributions that came in that made it possible. So we're really excited about that.
You've got a piece beside you. Tell me about this.
This is our mosaic class, and in this class, this
That's neat.
particular one, they actually made the pieces for the mosaic. In several of our classes, we do found pieces, where if you have old broken pottery
Is that what
shards,
this is?
some of the back or the fill on this are old pots, but all the leaves and little decorative pieces they made themselves. We just installed over at the university yesterday 3 by 8 foot mosaic that the class did for the university.
How cool.
Yeah.
You know, public art is involving a lot of mosaics sometimes, and I'd love to see you link to the public art programs that we're doing in the downtown or all through the community. And let's see if we can't come up with a cool idea. As a matter of fact, I'm heading off to a public art conference tomorrow, so it's going to be real good timing here. So this is a great idea. Now, you said local people can do this.
Oh yes, this is for the community, and when we say community, we mean it in all aspects of that. The university community, but the community itself. Most of our participants are community people, you and me, and just everyday people that are looking for a creative outlet. And
that's great.
It's just so exciting to see these people come in after working hard all day, and they're sort of worn out, and they get revived with letting this creativity out. And
That's, you know, it energizes you.
It does.
It really
It
does.
does.
And then one of the cool side effects is you either for your own home, if you're kind of selfish, or if you're really generous, you can give away some of your pieces, but you can make things that you really keep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
that
that's
you can really use.
one of the problems we're having putting this show together is we're saying to the students they can sell their work, and the students are going, well, I don't want to sell my work. I made it for me.
I was going to ask that question. You know, will this be a great Christmas shopping opportunity?
Well, some will be for sale, but most of this stuff, we come to find out, they want to keep it. You know, they're proud of it, and or they give it to family or loved ones.
So if you want to buy something for Christmas, you better hurry and get in there quickly, because it might not be for sale much longer. It may have already been sold, the few pieces that are available for purchase. Now, you have how many different classes running in your program right now?
This semester, we have 15 different classes, and they range everywhere from blacksmithing to what are we doing? We're doing a drawing class this time. This summer, we're going to introduce watercolors.
Oh, good.
So we're spreading out. We had a lot of people.
Anything for everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, what do you make in a blacksmithing class?
You make coat racks. They come up with some of the most interesting ideas, especially the guys. They come in, they want to make a trailer for their tractor, you know. we usually have to calm them down a little bit. But coat racks, lamps, they almost always come in the class with something outrageous thoughts.
Now, they pay a fee for the course, which pays for the instructor and the use of the facilities.
Right.
Okay, and that means they can use university facilities to do their pieces, right? Okay, and then do they pay extra for their materials on top of that?
In most cases, we try to make everything all-inclusive, because when I used to go to these workshops, I used to hate it. You'd pay one fee to get in, then you'd pay a materials fee, and then you'd pay a firing fee.
Break you up in a hurry.
Yeah. So what we try to do is now, some of the advanced students, like some of our students have gone into to the profession, if you will, like Jeff Martin. I know you're familiar with Jeff.
Oh, yes.
Jeff started out in our program, and now
really?
he's a professional potter.
Yes, as a matter of fact, he just got a Regional Artist Project grant.
Yes, I knew that.
So he is, we're real proud of him. He's doing some great work and very quickly moved to a professional level.
Oh, yeah.
I was amazed at how quickly he had done that.
Jeff had taken probably 5 or 6 classes with us, and I'm not sure that we were the ones that got him started, but we kept pushing him along.
That's great.
We're proud of it.
So you would like to encourage some folks to really take up the arts as a profession?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And we could identify probably 6 or 8 that have done that with us, that are practicing artists in the area.
And then for those people who still want to keep their day job, but this is something that they want to do for fun. About what do these classes generally run?
They probably average about 145. Some will go as high as 175. Some will go as low as 125.
And how many pieces would typical classes produce?
It's up to the individual. Some students will come in and just have a production line going. Like I know this young lady here, she probably will do 35 to 40 pieces in this class.
Wow.
And then we have students that just, they don't have the time to put into it, so they just come during class, and they may do 6 or 7 pieces.
So if they have extra time, they can come in and work other hours. So this is a terrific opportunity in the community, and I encourage you to get in touch. How do they find out more, Eric?
Well, they can call me directly at the university, and my number is 262-6360.
And you don't have to enroll in the university?
No, not at all. It's a very simple online registration. We do something that most of the university doesn't do. We make it really simple for you.
Okay, and they can go online at, I interrupted you, sorry.
That's okay. It's craftenrichment, one word, .com.
Okay.
We're a freestanding website. We were going to have to wait to get on the university server, and we said, heck, we don't want to wait, so we just got our own website. So.
They're also linked through our website. I think we mutually link each other because the Arts Council is such a strong proponent of this program. We think it's terrific that you're doing this.
And that's right. The link, we have a link to you too on our website. So they can go back and forth.
That's right. That's what partnership's all about. We hope you'll get involved with this program and create some wonderful things and just enjoy yourself and enrich yourself, as craft enrichment is all about. And also, we hope you'll stay in touch with the arts. Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and the gentleman with me today is Noyes Capehart. Noyes was here with me several months ago. We introduced his wonderful, wonderful book, The Private Diary of Noyes Capehart. And now, I guess I kind of thought that when we had this exhibit in the gallery of your work, Noyes, that we would have images from this book, but you and I were just discussing the fact that only one of the images in the show is actually from this book, because you've just taken things and gone forward, and this is newer work. Am I right?
Yes, these are all works that have been done, well, within the last year. And certainly since the release of this book in the summer of 2006.
And you were telling me a minute ago that you think that you've probably painted more in the last year than you had in many, many years.
It's really been it's been a congested year. I've had, and I think the book has helped me have this opportunity. I counted this morning 7 exhibits in 2007, 5 of which were, as timing would have it, no 2 of these shows fell apart from the ones on the other ends of it. So I had to have different inventories of works for each show. So it has been an accelerated year. But I mean, it's a good year.
Right. It wasn't that you had this sudden urge to paint a lot. You had a necessity to paint a lot.
Paint sometimes drives an artist to do things that he or she might not do otherwise. And I'm one of the world's richest procrastinators.
I think most artists are. I think it's part of the deal.
I think there's something about the pressure of an upcoming show that triggers maybe a little bit of extra creative adrenaline. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but that push that you need to
But it helps
get you
me.
going.
It helps me to have a target out there, and yeah, the works are all new, and they're totally different or new pictures from those that I showed just in June at the Turchin Center. I don't think there's a work in the Jones House show that was in
That
Turchin.
was also there. So if you saw the Turchin show, you want to come see this too, because this is completely different.
Yeah.
And now tell me, the show is titled The Private Diary of Noyes Capehart. So, so is the book. Is this an extension of the book? Is this?
It's not an extension of the book per se, but the conception of the diary pictures, as I call them, started in 1973, when Larry Edwards was still here, and Warren Dennis, and Bill Dunlap, and I were working closely together. And over the years, the diary images have been more of a constant than anything else. I've done other pictures, but I have focused mostly on diary works, and that's coming really from a fusion of visual interest and simple writing interest. I love to write.
Right.
So the narrative aspect of my works, and I want to think of them almost like visual short stories, to be honest. People say, oh, you're a painter, and I say, no, I'm not really. I paint. I use paint, but I don't think of myself as a painter. I think of myself as a kind of a storyteller.
Well, you do, and I recall one specific work that has pieces of a letter that you layered in, more almost collage style, and painted and did things with that.
That was a letter that 1927 that my mother received. It was one of those, what do we call it, Dear John letters?
Dear John, Dear Jill, Dear something.
Dear Jill, from just one of her early loves, and he was telling her that he thought things had run its course. And she told me a little bit about him before she died, but I found that letter in a box of old attic things. And one of my children said last weekend, "Dad, how could you take one of Bibby's letters and put it in a picture?" And I said, well, for one thing, it was a way to celebrate Bibby, I thought. I mean, she was a warm, exciting, in a lot of ways funny lady. And she had a broken heart here at the early years of her life. And I felt like if I put it in context, it was a way to kind of keep her spirit, if you like, kind of alive for the kids. That two of my children or scarcely remember their grandmother. And I told one of them, I said, "This picture, I don't intend to sell this picture. This will come to one of you one day."
Yeah.
And it's a family heirloom, like the old chest or the old rocking chair.
You call it a diary. So obviously that has each of them means something to you in some way. So how does all this tie into the concept of a diary?
Well, if you think of a conventional diary, one imagines an old book. Each day you flip a page and write at the end of the day or during the day what's happening. I think of a picture as a kind of page equivalent here. It's a reflection of where I was, not at a specific day or time, but at a certain juncture in my life, and events that that color my mood and my outlook and my energy and all of that. They feed the images that that kind of come out of this. So people will say, "Man, your work is so dark," you know, and I say, "Well, there's a dark element to it, but I also have pictures that I think are fun."
I agree.
I mean, I enjoy doing pictures, and I also I kind of enjoy the dark world. I love it in literature. I love it in music. I love it in art.
It's a way of sharing that.
It's just something that holds. Well, it just resonates. You know, that approach by creative people has always appealed to me.
Now, I saw something different in this show that I don't recall seeing in previous shows that I've seen of your work, and you've kind of gone into the third dimension a little bit. You have one piece that has old paintbrushes fastened along the front. You've also got some that have pictures inside of pictures. And so tell me about some of this.
Well, I think a lot of that, Cherry, is just a desire to continually explore. I've painted or made pictures or made visual stories, whatever we call this, for nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
And I think I've come to realize this about myself, and I think this holds true of most, if not certainly many artists. There's always the temptation to stay with something that has garnered some degree of recognition, or the artist has realized some measure of financial gain from
tried
it.
and true.
Yeah, and you'll hear people say, "Oh, I'd recognize his work anywhere because I recognize that style." And I've never craved that kind of... I think of myself as, I refer to myself often, and it's in jest, I hope, as a visual schizophrenic. I mean, I'll get very invested in a certain attitude or a certain manner, and then, like with the new works, I was about to throw all of those items out. The old drawing board that I had stretched probably 2,000 watercolors on, because I paint on wood shelving. That's my palette. And I thought, no, I'm going to give these objects a degree of animation. I want them to become part of those old brushes that I have in the work. I remember Joe Miller once came and was offering me a new brush. He said, "Try this brush out. I think you'll really like it." came back not long after that and saw the brush and said, "You haven't even used it." And I said, "Well, Joe, I will use it, but right now I'm happy with these brushes." And he said, "Well, what kind of brushes do you like?" And I said, "Look at this one." So I handed him one of those old brushes.
Right.
And it's almost hairless. I mean, it's almost lost all the bristles. But it is a tool that I completely connect with. And a brand new brush and a plastic holder. And I will use the brushes, and I deeply appreciated the brushes. But my manner of working is it's not by the book. It's very unorthodox, I think. I tend to use everything in the house that will allow me to manifest an image.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of it. And it's just wanting to turn a page and see what's out there to discover with it. Yet, the more fun it is to kind of throw the book away every now and then. And
How wonderful.
just do something because you have this, like a scratch, you know. Itch it because it scratches, or scratch it because it itches. That's basically it. Yeah.
You know, we could talk for so long. I would love to have a long talk with you about this. Unfortunately, our time is going away. But if you'd like to come and extend this conversation with Noyes, you have an opportunity. On December the 7th, we're going to have our usual gala reception, and Noyes is going to be there. And we're going to allow you a chance to see these new works, and they're wonderful, wonderful works. You have to come and see about the brushes. You have to come see about the paint board and all the other things that are involved that we've discussed today. We're also going to have Eric Rickard's Craft Enrichment Program students upstairs. We have Richard Tumbleston coming. We have Wayne Trapp coming. And we have the recorder group going to be playing as well. So it's going to be a very busy evening. But mark it on your calendar and plan to join us on December the 7th. We want to thank your friend Joe, Cheap Joe's, for sponsoring our galleries. He makes it possible for us to do this, and we're very grateful for that. We hope you'll stay involved with the Arts Council. You can check our website at watauga-arts.org and see links to Noyes' website and many other things all through the community.
House. Wayne Trapp will explain what all the commotion is about. He's the artist who made this sculpture.
Title for it is Gravitational Pull, and as you can see there's a bronze pendulum. If a strong wind comes, it'll move in the wind, but gravity has it in place.
Trapp has numerous sculptures throughout Boone and several across the country as well.
My daughter went to the football game, and and she said, "I'm over in this section," but you know, didn't know exactly where. And I'm down on the field, of course, you know, which may or may not happen this year, but I'll talk about that shortly. So anyway, I'm looking around for her, you know, up in the stands and stuff. And Dave Mayo saw me. Oops, wait a minute, let's make that bigger. So, "Hey, Fish, what'd you do in Nooga last year?" "I was looking in the stands for my daughter." Now, this is really cool. Dave took this picture here, and you know, and I meant to ask him which game that was, and I don't remember, but that's K-Rich celebrating probably one of his touchdowns, which is pretty. And Dave's got a big print of this that he took to the ball game, to the Richmond game Saturday in hopes of getting it on ESPN. I don't know whether he succeeded with that or not. And then there's this one as well, which of course I think would disagree with. Although they were picking on him a little bit. ESPN was picking on him some. You know, I think they should just hush. Anyhow, so there you go. Just a little extra stuff to share with you here this morning. And you know, this is the other thing I was talking about before. In past years, you know, MTN's had our cameras, 05 and 06, right down on the field during the championship game. Well, this year the rules are a little different, and you know, a national network such as ESPN, but it would be, you know, if it was CBS or whatever, it didn't matter. If it's a nationally televised game, the NCAA's new rules say that just that network that bought the rights can be on the field with cameras during the game. Now, we at MTN can shoot stuff before, we can shoot video after, but we can't shoot during the game on the field. And it's not just against MTN. I mean, it's anybody, you know, Channel 3, Channel 8, whatever channel you want. You know, you guys, it's ESPN's broadcast. So anything from 30 minutes before kickoff until the end of the ball game belongs to them. And, you know, and I suppose it makes sense, but, you know, we kind of got used to being down there and shooting our own video, but we can't do that, which is why for the last 2 games in our sports reports, you've seen courtesy NCAA ESPN, because we took their feed. That's how we got to show you on our sports reports. So with that said, you know, I don't know whether I'll be on the field or not when I get to Nooga. I might be up in a press box, which would be, you know, which is cool. Chattanooga Finley's got a great press box. They got one of the finest facilities around. It's really, really cool. But that messes with the mojo, you know? And championship, you know? It's just, it really is. You can't be messing with the mojo during the playoffs. I mean, you know, it's just, so we'll see. Mayo, watch for me down there on the field, man. So, you know, and if you don't see me, you'll know where I am. All right, let's proceed with the program here. I'm just getting all off on tangents and stuff. Cherry Johnson has the artist who designed the new sculpture out in front of the Jones house.
I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga Arts Council, and I'm very pleased today to have someone with me that's been a longtime friend of the Arts Council and is very well known, I don't know, maybe even internationally, but certainly all through the country as an artist of renown. This is Wayne Trapp, and he lives in our area. We're very honored to have you with us today, Wayne.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I've known you for many, many years, and I started knowing you, I believe.
Yeah. Well, actually, I guess you knew me mostly as a painter, although we did put a big sculpture in front of the Jones house years ago.
We did. Big aluminum piece.
Yeah, and I remember after the celebration on King Street, and a bunch of guys were up with they were drumming on the sculpture with these drums, the greatest sound they ever heard. But, yeah, it was kind of a nice thing. It was kind of an interaction between the public and public sculpture.
And you weren't offended at all?
No, not at all. It didn't hurt it at all.
That's
it was great. Yeah.
That's great. Now, Friday the 7th, we did it again.
Yeah.
We put another piece of sculpture on the lawn of the Jones house.
Yeah.
I need to tell everybody that we annually rotate these sculptures. It's called the Sherry Ann Edwards Memorial Sculpture Exhibition because you probably knew Sherry Edwards.
Oh, yeah, real well.
And she was actually one of my professors. And
really?
She
at the university.
At the university. And she was a sculptor and did an awful lot to promote sculpture in this area and certainly to encourage the Arts Council in that direction. So when she died a few years ago, we named the site in memory of her. And this year, the annual exhibit is your piece, Gravitational Pull.
Yeah, it's a metal like Cherry.
Of course.
Yeah. But I drove by it the other night. It's really nicely lit.
It does look good up there, doesn't it?
Good. Yeah.
Tell me about the piece. I mean, obviously, gravitational pull. There's a is it bronze?
It's a bronze pendulum. Yeah. Well, everything that we do is based on the pull of gravity. That's what keeps it based down. I don't know. It's just a fabricated, it's a construction. It's an abstract sculpture. But, you know, that's what I've been doing for almost 40 years now.
That's right.
Making large sculptures.
I think about everything I've ever seen you do is abstract.
Yeah. I have done a few portraits. I did, not too long ago, I did a bronze portrait of a district court judge down in Newton, North Carolina. And I'm just getting back from a foundry out that I use out in Wyoming, a large reclining female form for a client that's going up to, the client's actually from Greensboro, but they have a farm up in northern North Carolina. So we'll be installing that probably the end of this week.
So this client from Greensboro hires you to do a piece in western North Carolina, and it's made in Wyoming?
With Cast, the foundry that we use. Richard Hallier and I both have been using this foundry out in Lander, Wyoming. They're good. They do what they say they're going to do, and they get it on time, and that's it.
Now, I don't think everybody that listens to us is going to know what you mean by putting a piece in a foundry. Tell us the process.
Well, what I did on this one, I made a small model of what proposed sculpture, and then we enlarged it to 8 feet. And when I did the clay sculpture, I had the client come up to approve it. And then after that, then we had to make a huge plaster of Paris mold in multiple parts. And then we shipped that off to the foundry, which is where they pulled the wax from. And then they make the bronze from the wax.
They pour the bronze into the mold. Right. Now, the piece that's on the Jones House line is not made that way.
No, that's fabricated steel.
Which means?
Well, there's no foundry involved. I just order steel from a mill and weld things together and grind the welds down. And then in this case, we sent it off to Asheboro to have it powder coated.
Right.
So when it's powder coated, you know, years ago I painted a few sculptures, and the paint from the sunlight will fade, and eventually the thing has to be repainted again. So we quit doing that years ago. And usually now I use either stainless steel or what they call weathering steel. And it rusts and then it seals itself. The piece at the Turchin Center down in the Sculpture Garden is made out of Corten steel, no weathering steel.
Right.
And it becomes a Hershey brown when it's done rusting, and it's a nice tone.
And this piece was that color.
Because it's so linear.
Yes.
So that's why we decided to put a color on it.
I think it really helped the piece.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
oh for sure. Especially when it's lit at night like that.
Right.
It's great.
It does look good.
I don't get up early enough to see it in the morning sun, but
Picture for you. Now, you mentioned the Turchin Center. You have work all over our community and then other places as well. Let's talk about our community first. Where is your work?
Oh, well, let's see. The Chancellor just purchased a big stainless sculpture to be placed up at the entry to the Broyhill Center up on the hill. I have the red sculpture as part of the Rosen competition this year. We just placed a big yellow sculpture down on Blowing Rock Road, the Prudential real estate office.
Right, and you've had work in that same area for many years.
Yeah, it's been rotating, but this gentleman bought the sculpture from me, so that was a nice thing. Yeah, and then let's see. Then we just temporarily put 3 kinetic sculptures in front of the Peabody's wine store.
Those are cool, and I would have thought of putting one of those at the Jones House, except for I was a little bit afraid. Those balloon-like things are glass.
A new glass blower just moved to the area from Pennsylvania, and so we collaborated on that. And then he and I just finished a large, a 16-foot wall sculpture combining stainless steel and glass, and that's for the entryway to a hospital down near Myrtle Beach. So he and I have been working on. He just got back from Miami, where we're going to be doing a large sculpture down there for a hotel. And then we're making a presentation to a designer in Dubai that we're going to be working on together on a large sculpture for the lobby of a hotel in Dubai.
Wow. And you just put one in Chicago recently.
We just shipped one to Chicago. And we're doing another one in Chicago. We're combining glass and cast bronze for a big law firm up there. So that's going to be a fun project. Yeah, they've got 4 floors of this high-rise that they've commissioned us to do.
And when all these Appalachian fans go to Chattanooga, I understand there's some of your work there.
Oh, I do. I have some work at the Hunter Museum, and also right on Broad Street. There's a huge bronze art sculpture there. And I have a lot of private collectors in Chattanooga over the years. Yeah, I've been going back and forth to Chattanooga. I felt like a UPS driver there for a while. I have a lot of private collectors down there. Yeah.
So now, one more question. Do you have work internationally?
I have a few pieces in Germany.
Okay.
And I tried at one time to get connections with this gallery in Paris, and I went back and forth there, but it's so difficult to deal with the logistics of shipping work there. I would
imagine.
Yeah, especially with the with this terrorist attack, everything has gotten so complicated now. So
Right.
I would love to go back and do another on-site sculpture in Vienna or someplace like that. I don't know if it'll happen.
That way
or
you
not.
don't have to ship it.
Right, right. And, yeah, plus I get to eat European food.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, it's a good combination, sure.
Well, Wayne, I wish I had an hour to talk to you on air, because I know folks would find everything you've got to tell very interesting. There's so much more. We're going to have to bring you back and talk about the painting side of your career later.
Well, yeah, well, thank you. I have a book that was published a year ago on that's at Black Bear Bookstore. I believe they still have some left, but it's a journey of my life as from when I started off to pretty much to the present. And I'll get a couple to the Jones house.
That'd
if you
be
would
great.
like.
And
Yeah.
this spring we'll bring you back and we'll talk about your book.
Oh, that would be good.
So,
I'm working on a second book right now.
oh, well, we'll bring
finished.
you back for that too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that would be great.
I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for liking that sculpture in front of the Jones house.
I like it. And also, thank you for sharing it with us. It's a real gift to the community. We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Well,
it.
public art is important.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Come by the Jones house. You don't even have to come inside to see Wayne's beautiful piece, but there's lots more inside as well. The Arts Council's involved in the arts all through the community. Please stay involved with the arts, and please check our website for more information. I'm Terry Johnson with Watauga Arts Council, and I have with me today, actually you're in a different place today. We're in the Maisie Jones Gallery, and we have a show that is in process of being hung, and it's a show by Ben McKeon. This is Ben. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
We're glad to have your work up this month, for the month
Absolutely.
of February. And your work is, I'm really impressed. It's photography.
It is photography.
And I gather that you've been basically either being in a photograph or taking photographs literally all of your life.
That's correct. My mom was a photographer since the day I was born. So there's always been cameras, you know, where I am.
Just natural.
Just natural, yeah. And I first started taking when I was about probably 11 or 12 years old. That's really when I started having an interest in being on the other side of the camera. I'd certainly had my share of being on the subject side of the camera. But from there, it's really just, my interest has grown, and so it's been a long time, and I really enjoy what I do.
That's great. Now, this particular show, the name of the show is Untitled.
Untitled.
And I want you to explain why it's called Untitled and what we're going to do that's a little different about that.
Absolutely. Well, the show is called Untitled because the concept behind this gallery is that, like you have in your hand, there will be a photo, just like here, and a blank sheet of paper next to the photo.
You've got it upside down, so the
I do
Velcro's
have
the
it,
wrong
yeah,
way.
it'll
They're
Velcro.
Velcroed on the wall.
It'll Velcro right here next to a photo. What the concept is viewers will be invited to take a look at the photograph, sort of inspect it and determine what it means to them, and then write down a title on this blank sheet of paper next to the photo. And in that way, two things will happen. One, the viewer will have an opportunity to sort of inspect this on a very personal level, so that I'm not necessarily imposing a meaning on them. And secondly, hopefully the running list of titles will become a part of the exhibit, so that, say, if you come here on Monday, or well, Tuesday, and then you come the next Tuesday, the list of titles hopefully won't be the same. So it gives you an incentive to come back again.
So we're going to keep changing it out.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. This is a very unusual way to approach a photography exhibit, and I'm sure, not to sound funny, but I'm sure it saves you a whole lot of grief trying to figure out names for all of your work, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of my, it's one of the harder things for me to do, and it's also, I found one of the more enjoyable things, though, for me to do is to title a photo, because you can really put a spin on it that, you know, otherwise might not have been seen. So, and what I'm hoping to do by allowing viewers to do that is sort of give them that opportunity to participate, so that I'm the one providing the photos, but I want everybody to be a participant in creating the art.
So are you going to select a permanent label for this piece from that?
Hopefully I will just include the list, the list of titles with the original piece, and have that sort of culmination
Right.
of titles be the working title, if you will.
Now tell us, you were telling me earlier, why you personally would like to see the work handled this way as opposed to just walking into a gallery and looking at artwork.
Right. Well, I love looking at art, but there are some times when I feel a little bit disconnected from what I'm looking at. And it's because there's really I've seen a lot of pretty pictures, and pretty pictures are wonderful, but I don't really feel strongly about them unless it affects me in some way. So essentially, if I see a photo or a painting of a snowy scene in the middle of the woods, but I recognize the house as being a house that my grandmother used to live in,
Right.
That's when the art becomes something special to me. So again, in this way, I want to provide people with a sort of an invitation to make the photograph and make my art something that is meaningful to them. So
That's great.
Yeah, the art that I appreciate the most, whether it's photography, painting, poetry, television, movies, whatever, it's that which affects me.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to sort of get across.
That's neat.
in
So
this
you want
exhibit.
everyone to have that same experience.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
that
agree.
is really neat. Now, you said your mother's a photographer. Does your work look like hers?
You can probably find a little bit of her work in it, but she does a lot of portraits. She does weddings. That's actually how I started on a professional basis, is doing weddings with her.
And you're doing weddings now.
I am photographing weddings now. So, but my background really is in photojournalism. That's where I really jumped into it strongly in my high school newspaper. I was a photo editor my senior year. So storytelling and conveying some sort of meaning is a big part of my work. So you'll see a lot of that in the stuff that I do. It doesn't look exactly like my mom's, but it's
Influenced as well?
I am a writer, and I think my photography is more akin to writing than anything else.
Okay. All right. I want to also share with everyone, too, that the reason we're able to do these exhibits month after month after month is because we have, number one, the great support of Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. They support our galleries financially, and that way we can have a great reception on the 1st where folks can come and meet you, and the food and all that stuff is paid for through the support of Cheap Joe's. And then also I want to give credit to Jenny Schrum because she's our visual arts coordinator, and she really does do a good job. She has a committee that works with her, but Jenny really does the nuts and bolts of it, so we're really happy to have her. So please come in February and see Ben's work. It's well worth the trip, I do assure you. And so come anytime during the month of February, but if you want to meet him and learn more about him, come on the 1st between 6:30 and 8.
And we thank you for watching MTN, and we want to remind you that you can.
I'm Sherry Johnson, Watauga Arts Council, and I have with me in the Open Door Gallery of the Jones House Community Center February's featured artist. And this is Charlotte Shristi. And Charlotte is displaying her work in this room for the month of February. And there was a reception on February the 1st to come and meet you. And this will actually be aired after that reception, but your work will be available for people to come really enjoy for the whole month. Now, the name of your show is Song for the Rising, is that correct?
Song for the Rising.
And there's a history behind that. You want to tell us about it? I think I'm holding the piece that that matters to this description, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about this.
I'm still trying to sort of put it into words, I would say, but this is the first piece in the series that had inspired the series. And I did it actually as I was learning how to do this type of painting and caustic painting. But Song for the Rising, I think for me it's about singing, praying, hoping, maintaining hope for the future, for I feel like humanity's kind of going through a crisis now with global climate change and the amount of wars and that are going on, and like I was telling Cherry, I've been overseas a lot and seen a lot of difficult circumstances all over the world, But I really feel like we need to maintain hope about what humans are capable of, that we're
Right.
capable of living in harmony and with each other and with nature. And so I guess this is kind of a prayerful body of work for me.
That's really cool. All right, now let's talk about the kind of work it is. It's encaustic.
Encaustic.
And let's talk about what that is.
Okay. The method that I learned at Penland is to mix wax pigment with wax, with molten wax.
Right.
And then actually paint with the liquid wax. And then it hardens pretty quickly. And then it needs to be fused, the layers of wax need to be fused together then using a blowtorch.
Wow.
So that's
quite a technique.
Yeah, and it can be, the surface can be scratched into, kind of etched into, and then pigment put into the scratches and wiped off. So it kind of includes some drawings.
Yeah,
and
so like
lines
this part of the piece was originally drawn, and then
Scratched
you added the
in.
wax over.
Yeah,
That is really cool.
Yeah, there's clear wax kind of over the drawing.
Which gives it kind of a mystic approach or something to it. And then the owl, which incidentally has a human face on it, is a much brighter, more, stands out much further. And so this is just the process that you've done. I know you've outlined it in a dark color, and it's brighter, of course, colorized.
Yeah, I actually did the drawing, put in the dark pigment, and then put the light colored wax, the white colored wax.
Now, this
over that.
particular piece interests me because you've got 3 panels in the same frame. Talk to me about why you did that.
I don't know. It goes back, in art history. It's a tradition, triptychs and diptychs, in religious painting and all kinds of painting. But I don't know why it attracted me. I think I like that long shape for one thing, and had these square panels, and so you decided to try putting them together.
I like the effect. It's almost a tile type of an effect. So, and you were talking about where all you've been, and I think that's reflected a lot in your work. So let's talk about, you're from, did you say Indiana?
I grew up in Iowa.
Iowa.
Went to school in Indiana.
And, okay, that's where I got Indiana. And then between school in Indiana and Boone, there was a very interesting path.
Yes. Let's see, right out of college, I went to the Hopi Reservation in Arizona and worked as an art teacher for a school year there.
Right.
Then, let's see, I've lived in D.C. for a little while.
That's an adventure, too.
Yeah, that was cross-cultural. My husband and I lived and worked in Colombia, South America, for 2.5 years doing peace and justice work. And he actually grew up in Nepal, so we've been back there. He's been back several times. I've been back just once to visit.
Okay.
He was in Iraq before the war started on a peacekeeping mission.
So all of those experiences of other cultures and other societies where people, just approach life differently. I kind of feel some of that with some of the work you've done here. And so you're in the process, while we're taping this, of hanging the show. And I wanted to share with our audience that the reason we're doing these shows is because we have a wonderful sponsor. Cheap Joe's Art Stuff supports our galleries and makes it possible for us to not only pay for all the miscellaneous things that go with the show, but also to fund the receptions and all the other things that relate to that. And then also we have Jenny Schrum, who's our visual arts coordinator. Jenny is half-time, and she manages to do office manager and visual arts coordinator and does a great job of both.
Yeah, I've enjoyed getting to know her.
She's great to work with. And so anytime you come by during the month of February, you're likely to run into Jenny. If you run into Charlotte, that's your good fortune. But you have an artist statement on the wall to share more about your work and so forth. And then if folks want to get to know you better, we can tell them how to connect with you and how to communicate.
Yeah, I'll certainly have business cards here, and would love to hear from people who are interested in my work.
And you're doing something too that for someone as young as you is a real accomplishment, and that is you're doing half-time. And the other half-time you have a job that you're doing as well, which is an interesting enough job in and of itself. But the fact that you're able to support yourself to some extent with your artwork, as a young artist, is it's an accomplishment.
Thank you.
I can see why.
Well, I'm not necessarily supporting myself half the time with the art yet, but I feel like it's just art making is a part of me, and it's something I want to do whether or not I'm making money.
Right.
And hope that in time I can do it full-time professionally.
You sound to me like you're doing a lot of expression. I mean, every artist does that, but yours seems to be really a strong component of your work, you know, and that's a big part of why you're doing these pieces. Would that be true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always done art. I majored, one of my majors was in art, so it's just sort of a part of who I am, and I feel like it'll always be part of my life.
What are your other majors?
I also majored in psychology.
I can see where it works together for you.
Yeah.
Charlotte's an interesting person. I hope you have an opportunity to come by and meet her, and definitely make a trip to the Jones House to come and see her work, because it's well worth your time to come by and check it out. And our gallery hours are noon to 5, Tuesday through Friday, or by appointment. And so we encourage you to come check out her work, check out our website, watauga-arts.org. I'm Sherry Johnson, Watauga County Arts Council, and today is a very, very special day because we are hanging shows today. And this is Janie Goodman. She is our artist in the Maisie Jones Gallery this month. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We are excited. I've known Jamie for a long time, and I've always thought that she was a neat person, and you've done a lot of graphic type work and that kind of thing, but I've never seen your photography before. And so Jamie's displaying a photography exhibit that I really identify with. I think it's really cool. I didn't actually grow up in Boone, but I was like you. I was a faculty kid in another town, but I'm from Boone. So we kind of have a reverse, you know, black and white image going here, because you came to Boone and you were basically what we used to call a faculty kid.
Definitely.
Your parents taught at the university, and you grew up here, and when you are a faculty kid, you straddle.
Yes.
You straddle the community, because you are not exactly a native, but almost.
Exactly.
You know, and you are part of the original community. But, you know, another way, you're part of the university community. And that town gown thing just really does personify in a faculty kid. So, what do you remember about Boone when you were growing up? You were here, what, when, the 70s? 80s?
Early 80s. But the thing that made this so unique for me was that my father is from Ashe County. He was born and raised in Ashe County, and his father was born and raised in Ashe County back to the 1790s when the Goodmans first settled Ashe County.
All right.
So I've been coming up to this region my whole life. We lived in Salisbury, North Carolina, and we would come up here on the weekends. And so the mountain region was pretty much part of my life since I was born.
Really your heritage.
Exactly. So when I moved up here, we lived in Boone, and my father worked at the university, and he was, and both him and my mother were university educated. But then in Ashe County, I had my local relatives and my grandmother, and this deep-set roots there, which I really literally straddled two completely different cultures in the Boone area, and that was, it was really kind of schizophrenic sometimes, going from one to the other, because it was so very different. But
that is. Now this exhibit is kind of, you're talking about that with this exhibit.
A little bit, and I'm also talking about how I thought, I mean, growing up in Boone, one of the funny things about the way I grew up in Boone was, you know, when you grow up in a small town, one of the things you yearn for is more. You yearn for bigger places, more adventure, and, you know, the big city lights. And so, of course, I'm wandering around Boone as a teenager, and then when I eventually went to college here, looking at the back alleyways and looking at all the different excitements and cultures that were in Boone, because Boone is such a bizarrely unique place. I mean, there are so many different socio-cultures here. For a small town, it's unusual.
It truly is.
It's usually a small town isn't going to have that much cultural uniqueness to it. And so I pretty much, because of all the different organizations that I was involved with, or places that I worked, or knowing my family and the localness of my family, I got to know so many different social circles and see so many different slices of Boone. It was just, it fascinated me always. And I just kind of, I constantly explored that. I'm too hyper to stay low or stay quiet. So I just explored all that. And that's what this is about, is it's trying to show all the different ways that I saw Boone. Most people don't necessarily see Boone the same way. I mean, nobody does. And you can go from one social circle to the next, and it feels like a different town. I mean, the people who might be involved in the banks around here and have their families and have the soccer mom concept, and they go from work to school. That's a completely different world for them, and the things that they love about Boone are completely different from, say, the young kids who live on what we call Hippie Hill, or downtown, and are completely different from from the locals who work out is still in farming and doing the agriculture.
Right, right.
So I'm trying to show as much as I can of that with these images. It would take 1,000 images probably to really explain how I see it.
Well, and speaking of quantities, these are very small images, and you said you're not sure how many are going to end up in the show, because a lot of it has to do with where they fit in the room, and artists take a lot of care in getting things up a certain way. But do you have 69, you told me?
69, I think. So we tried to shoot for 70, and I think we've already culled one of the boards out. So there's some that didn't work exactly.
And speaking of boards, we're talking about, if you hear noises, it's because we're hanging in more than one gallery, and so you'll hear noise as we go, and that's just part of the way it is on Mondays around here. So, talk about why this is put this way. I think this is really cool. I know it wasn't intended that way, but it turned out so neat.
Okay, here's the time. Right. Basically, from a miscommunication, with the organization here, my fault. We changed the date of my show, and somehow I got it messed up in my head that I was in April and not March. And I didn't really discover this error until the Monday of last week, because my email address had changed, and the email you guys sent me didn't make it to me. It was just one of those serendipitous events.
It just happened. It was
just
meant
happened.
to be.
It was meant to be for some reason. And I was at that point anyway struggling with how I wanted these images to be mounted and displayed anyway. And so, but I thought I still had a month and a half to pull everything together. So when I realized I had a week, my first thought was complete and sheer panic. My second thought was to call my friends, my artist friends, Bannister Pope being one, John Bond from the Art Mart, my friend Virginia Tokaben, and say, what am I going to do here? Should I just tell them I can't do the show? And they rallied me. It was really amazing. There's a few other people whose names I want to mention too, but this group of community of artists had completely rallied behind me and said, we can do this, let's pull this off. So one of the things we came up with was the concept of false frames, rather than doing a complete frame. There was just no way we were going to be able to frame.
A complete frame being the traditional frame.
Exactly, complete frame, just in glass and matte and everything. And I knew that I had to show a lot of images. I already had the majority of my images pulled together, and I knew that I couldn't cull down to 20 or 30 images, because that wouldn't show what I was trying to say here. So we came up with the concept of the false frame, which is just basically a birch board mounted with a little mounting utility on the back, which brings it out from the walls, painted black, and then we kind of scarred the surface down a little bit so that it looks like, gives it kind of a rougher look to it, which it's kind of funny when you think about that being more of a polished feel than a jet black, but it actually is better because it's so hard with the kind of paint that we use to get it exactly.
Well, but it goes with the way you've torn the paper too. You've used what looks like a handmade paper or parchment paper.
It's like a watercolor paper. The arches, which is a woven paper.
Right. And then you've torn it, and then she's mounted a piece of plexiglass on top with the little brads or nails. And so you've put those on, and the images are very small images, so if you are short-sighted, you need to bring your reading glasses. But please do come by and come and look at these. These are I'm fascinated with what little bit I already have seen, and I cannot wait to see all the whole show. It's going to be really great. One brief thing is Jamie was talking about her circle of friends, and I have to give you credit for something. She's one of the movers and the shakers behind the Nth Gallery, and really makes that place happen. I don't know if you were an originator or not.
Not quite, but I've been there for a long time.
Yeah, and so talking about a circle of friends, that is really a personification of an artistic circle of friends. There's some wonderful folks involved there, and you named some wonderful folks. You said you were going to name some more, and you
I wanted to
forgot
name
them.
a few more people who helped me pull this off. There's no way I could have done this without them. Basically, John Bond from the Art Mart and Bannister Pope and Virginia Tokaben helped me come up with the concept and the ideas, brainstorming how I was going to do this. And Tom Gallagher, make sure I mention everybody, Tom Gallagher helped with the plexi and offered the services of his tools. Brian Lee, who's the senior member at the Nth Gallery, he's been a dream. He has just up with how to do this, setting up jigs for me. I mean, it's just been amazing. Jeff Deal has helped me immensely with, many different aspects. But then again, my friend Virginia Tokaben has worked 3 12-hour days with me on this. She set aside her own artwork. She is just one of the most beautiful, special women I know, and her art is gorgeous. And there's other people who've stepped in and out and helped paint a board here and there, and it's just been this whole show. The idea behind this show partially it's about community and the fact that Boone is so enriched with so many different kinds of communities. And my little tiny community pulled together to help me pull this off inside of the greater ecosystem that is Boone's entire community. And that's what I believe has always made Boone a special place, is that it's, no matter what happens, whether it's your small little ecosystem or whether it's the larger social circle, Boone's a community.
It kind of puts a new meaning to Boone as you see it.
Exactly.
Please come by and take a look and see if you, if the way you see Boone in any way coincides with the way Jamie sees Boone. And I invite you to do the same thing at some point and borrow from Jamie's ideas. This would be a wonderful exhibit to maybe tie into our centennial celebration for the Jones House.
That's true.
So I encourage you to come by anytime during the month of March. There is a reception on 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. I have to count my days up. But on March the 7th from 6:30 to 8, and you can come see Jamie, meet her in person, and I bet meet some of these wonderful friends as well.
Definitely.
And come in and actually have that opportunity. Please stay in touch with the Arts Council. Our website is watauga-arts.org, and there's that and so many other things on it. Thanks. With Watauga County Arts Council, and I'm in the Open Door Gallery today at the Jones House Community Center with a great bunch of folks. It's great to have all of you here. Welcome.
Hello.
And then we're going to share a microphone today, so I'm going to be sticking my hand in their face, but they already know that that's going to happen. These are folks from the High Country Homeschoolers. What is your official group called? Do you have a group?
Just High Country Christian Homeschoolers.
Okay. All right, and all of you are you've known each other for a long time? And
nope.
You've not.
I know
like everyone here.
Wow. So this group is kind of loosely put together, but that's great. You've come together because you're working, you've done art together. And where do you learn about your art? I know that there's a whole program about
I did mine at the Thoughtful Thursdays, because there's an art class there. Miss teaches.
And
they take Holly Suka.
Yes. And so you both go to the same program, so there are 2 art teachers that work with the program. Are there more than 2?
No.
Okay. Now, how did you girls learn about your art?
Well, my mom, I was just kind of playing one day, and I just kind of figured it out with my sister, and we just do ours at home.
So yours is self-taught. That's cool. That's cool. Now, what about you?
I do it with my sister with Holly Suka.
Okay. And then Daniel, what about you?
I'm self-educated. I drew it. I started out pretty simple, but I'm just looking at pictures of me in a mirror and whatnot.
Okay, now let's let these folks explain it. Then I think yours might be behind us, Daniel, and we'll make them move out of the way so we can look at yours. Okay, let's start with your work. Now tell me your name and tell me what you're doing. What's your name?
Hey, Leah Clemens.
And what's in your hands?
Oh, it's just like a mug that I made at Orange Pottery, because I take a class there.
That's a cool place. Yeah, and so he's taught you how to do this. This is wonderful. Look at this, folks.
They will center the piece for us on the wheel, and then we'll make it, and then we get to paint it and stuff after it's been in the kiln for a while.
The centering is the hardest part.
I'm hopefully going to take another class where I'll learn to center it by myself. So.
Right, that takes muscles. You may have to grow a little bit, eat a lot of Wheaties. Okay, now you have a wonderful piece in front of you. I really like this. Tell me about this.
It's just a picture that
Is it a self-portrait?
It turned out to look sort of like one, but it wasn't supposed to be.
Oh, you must have just come through instinctively. This is neat. What have you done here? Is it...
First you put glue on for the black lines, and then you use some sort of like chalk stuff.
And pastel paper?
Yeah, chalk pastel.
I've never heard of that technique. That's cool. That is really cool. And I like your colors. Those are nice.
Thank you.
So, well done. All right, and then you have this is like step out a little bit so they can see it better. This is a 3-dimensional piece. You've got to come see this in person because I can't really show it like it really is. Tell me about this piece.
First, there's a regular piece of paper on the back, and you just paint the landscape onto it, and then there's 2 pieces of clear sort of paper stuff, and you just paint houses on them. and you can paint trees and stuff.
So it's a layered effect.
Yeah.
This is really, and your name is?
Alyssa Freeberg.
And I didn't ask you, what's your name?
Elena Freeberg.
So they're sisters. Okay. And then Daniel, let's see, girls, if you'll step over there just a second. Let's look at Daniel's work, and then I want to look at her work too right fast. Tell us.
Well, my drawings usually include either humans in poses or small, long paper stuck together, not dioramas, murals. But I've been, which sometimes include ships and whatnot. I've gotten into, I really like designing armor and weaponry, so, namely from Lord of the Rings.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. And so these are reflective of the influence of Lord of the Rings.
These two were made under a week, so.
Wow.
And yours was actually made under 30 minutes-ish.
And this is all you have in the show, or are you going to be bringing in other pieces?
I think this is it.
Okay. And your last name is?
Lanier.
Lanier. This is Daniel Lanier. And so we're glad to have your work as well. And now you want to come over here and talk to me about your work. I love this. Tell me about your work.
I haven't actually got it in yet.
What's it going to be like? Tell us about it.
Well, me and my sister have been making 3-minute home movies, and we put it together on a movie maker.
Oh, you're the one I heard about. Cool.
And we just put them together, and we've got it almost it's like a little over a half hour long, but part of it kind of follows a story. Most of it's kind of just different stuff. Some of it follows a story, and sometimes we were just filming each other playing video games.
And what is your name?
I'm Jasmine Wheeler.
You're Jasmine, and your sister's going to be helping with this, and what's her name?
Miriam Wheeler.
Miriam. So Jasmine and Miriam have created a video that we're going to work it out so we can have it. You can come and see it here at the Jones House. Obviously, you need to plan a little extra time if you're going to get to come and sit down and enjoy that. But it'll be on display here in the Open Door Gallery, along with just a plethora of just great work. I want to thank the folks that pulled it together. And I know that when you're working with a group of people like this, it's a lot bigger task to get a show pulled together, and so I want to thank the folks that have done that. And always we want to thank Jenny Schrummer, our visual arts coordinator. She does an enormous amount of work with this kind of show. And then also Cheap Joe's Art Stuff has made it possible for us to do this, and we all want to be sure and give them a big salute. Come and enjoy the work. Y'all are going to be here for the reception, which is on, I think, the 7th. And the work will still be here all through the month of March. You'll be able to see it during regular gallery hours of noon to 5, Tuesday through Friday at the Jones House Community Center in the heart of downtown Boone. Check the Arts Council's website, and I think you might get to see some digital images of some of this, and so very much more all through the community.
Hello, we are at the Jones House Community Center in downtown Boone, and the offices and galleries of the Watauga Arts Council. My name's Jenny Schramm, and I am the Visual Arts Coordinator, and I'm here with a group of people because they are installing a show this morning. It's the Branches exhibit. It's the Branches is a poetry and prose and art literary magazine of the Caldwell Community College. I'm here with Tom Fileman, who is the fine arts teacher, and he put this show together. You want to tell us about it?
Sure. Branches is Caldwell Community College Literary Arts Magazine. This is our 13th volume, and we have began publishing the magazine in the early 1990s. Took a few years off. We revised the magazine last year, and you remember we had an exhibition that was very successful here last year, and a lot of fun. The opening was a lot of fun, and so we're happy to be back here this year with Branches Volume 13. The magazine is very handsome. The collection of prose and poetry is awesome, as well as the fine arts work, which can be seen here beginning Friday.
We have a couple of pieces behind us. This is Damon Hood's piece, and this is a bit of what's going to be in this show. This is Damon Hood right here. He's one of the art students of yours. Right?
Actually, Damon is an instructor.
Is he? He's very modest. He did not tell me these things.
And Branches is open not only to Caldwell Community College students, but also to faculty and staff, as well as members of the community from Watauga County and Caldwell County. Okay. So it's representative of the talent in our area.
Wonderful, wonderful. So it's not just young students, 19, 20-year-olds. It's going to be adults too. So
Correct.
that'll be good. A nice mix of people.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Let's see. Also, we have the poetry and prose winners this year for the magazine. Their works, this is Liz Ammerman, and her work is called
The Glorious Mundane.
The Glorious Mundane, and we really look forward to reading that. Are you going to do a reading Friday night? We're going to have some readings.
I haven't decided yet
Yeah,
if I am.
she is.
Oh, okay. I guess I might not show up. No, yeah.
Be sure and come Friday night to our gallery reception. It starts at 6:30 and goes till 8 o'clock. And we're going to have readings from some of these talented people who have excerpts in the magazine. And also free copies of the magazine will be here. And I remember from last year, it's a wonderful magazine. It's something you want to put on your coffee table and everyone enjoy. This is Brian Yerman. Forrest
Brian's
Yerman.
my dad.
Oh, maybe I know him. Okay. And he won in the poetry section. And what was that called?
Life.
Life. Very good. And are you going to be doing a reading Friday night?
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
you're committing. Good,
Oh, yeah.
good. Hear
I'm
that,
committed.
Liz? I heard it.
I did it last year. So.
Good,
She
good.
has experience.
That's going to be so much fun. We have also upstairs, we have Two Rivers Community School doing an exhibit. It's a children's exhibit, of course, and they are going to be playing musical instruments during the gallery reception. I think in the parlor. I think we'll have you guys in here doing readings. So it'll be so much fun. Be sure and come. We'll have food and drink, and it'll be a good time. And the weather will be perfect, as always, for spring. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Well, I just hope that everyone could make the opening. Also, if I could plug Caldwell Community College's art department as the fine arts instructor, and let everyone know that we're excited about offering digital photography, which will be new for our campus beginning in the fall.
Oh, how exciting.
As well as drawing and design and the ever popular computer art that I teach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks.
Is that called graphic art?
It's actually called computer art, and it's structured around the Adobe Photoshop software.
That's terrific.
And it's a popular class.
And they're adding on to Caldwell, too, aren't they?
Correct. We're adding on facility that will host many rooms, including a fine arts room. So our fine arts department will grow. We're also in the process of hiring a new fine arts instructor that will be housed in Watauga County.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well, I know that it's a wonderful school up there on the hill. My daughter goes there. I'm very impressed with the professors and classes and all. So be sure and come and join us Friday night. And throughout this month, this exhibit will be open, and you must see it and pick up your free copy of The Branches, the literary magazine of Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. The galleries are open 12 to 5, Tuesday through Friday, and Thursday nights from 7:30 to 11 p.m., which seems an odd time, but that's during the acoustic jams that take place here every Thursday night. Bluegrass, all the time, it's a big time here at the Jones House in downtown Boone. We'd love to see you come.
Hello, everybody. Mark Freed here from the Watauga Arts Council, here to fill you in on a week full of events in April. And we're going to start on April 13th, a Sunday. It's going to be a real special day. We'll have the Strawberry Hill Fiddlers coming down from New York. We've had a wonderful instructor with our Junior Appalachian Musicians program this year, Emily Shad. And Emily is a music instructor from up in New York, and she's going to be bringing her fiddlers down who play a variety of things from fiddle tunes to Celtic tunes to classical stuff to swing tunes as well. And they'll be giving a free concert that evening, Sunday evening at 7 p.m. in I.G. Greer Auditorium. And the concert may also feature some of the younger fiddlers from our area that are aspiring and doing great things, such as the Forget-Me-Nots and Meade Richter. So come on out and support them if you can. Later that week, April 15th, on Tuesday, at Plymouth Student Union, there's going to be a luthier convention instrument builders who make everything from banjos to fiddles to guitars are going to be gathering at Plymouth Student Union in the Blue Ridge Ballroom, and they'll be there from 10 in the morning the whole way through 5 in the afternoon. They're going to be demonstrating some of their instrument building skills and showing off some of their instruments, and they will be playing some music. There'll be a performance at 1 o'clock from Herbie and Jim Lloyd, and bring your dancing shoes because there will be a square dance from 2:30 to 5 in the auditorium. Later that evening, people are going to reconvene back in I.G. Greer again for an evening performance at 7:30 with banjoist and fiddler and singer Paul Brown. Paul was a newscaster for WPAQ in Mount Airy for several years, and now you might hear him giving the news at the top of the hour from NPR. He's up in Washington with NPR, but he knows a lot of the old time and great mountain songs, and he'll be performing some of those at I.G. Greer. Of course, we have the Jones House Jam on the 17th here, and every Thursday here at the Jones House we've got people jamming, so come on by and bring your instrument if you're ready to participate after all that music. And we'll finish the week out with another dance out at the Todd Mercantile on April 18th. The April 18th dance will be at 7:30. It's $4 admission for that. And there's a full week of music and dancing and instrument building and all kinds of good stuff in April. So look forward to seeing you at some of those places.
We're here in the Jones House Community Center in downtown Boone, home of the offices and galleries of the Watauga Arts Council. And we're in the upstairs gallery that we call Open Door Gallery. This is often a student exhibit, and this month it is, the month of April. We're having Two Rivers Community Schools exhibit. 146 students' work is represented here in all mediums. Poetry, or pottery, sculpture. Gosh, I'm looking around the room. There's all kinds of things. I have on my right here the art teacher, Kelly Sheets. Some of you may have seen her. Her parents are Deborah Jean and Randy Sheets, and they're bluegrass musicians, and Kelly sings and plays with them too. So if she looks familiar, that's why. But she's also the art teacher at Two Rivers Community School. And she's here to install this work, and she has some students with her, and I'll introduce them in just a minute. But here's Kelly.
I'm also a longtime Watauga County resident, so some of my teachers and community members might know me too.
You went to Watauga High School?
I went to Watauga High School and Bethel Elementary School, and now I'm teaching at this great school, Two Rivers Community School. We're a local public charter school, and we're called an expeditionary learning school, which is relates to the way we do curriculum and that kind of thing. And a lot of our art projects have to do with our expeditionary learning. An expedition is a long-term project that students in our school do. So they study really in depth on a certain topic, and they learn all their academic lessons through that lens, through a certain topic.
Oh, what a good way to learn. It really sticks with them.
Yeah, a lot of times it's really hands-on. It really relates to issues in science or social studies or something like that.
Yeah, fun.
So the art that's represented today, a couple of some things, and things throughout the gallery represent work that students have learned about in other disciplines, like science, math, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's a great way to learn. I know Two Rivers Community School is a fairly new school. It's been in operation a couple of years.
This is the third year.
And you were saying it's a charter public school, so it is free, and anyone can go. It's not a closed it's not specific. Like I've heard of charter schools that are language or art only, but this is any students can go.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're limited to enrollment based on our size of our facilities, but I think we limit the class size to 20 students per grade. But open enrollment will begin this month, and so people can call the school and find out more information and tour at different times. So you can check the paper for information about that, but we'll be hosting some events to bring in the community this month.
Great, thanks, Kelly. Let's meet some of these great students that she has with her this morning. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Your name?
Hello, my name is Cora Rourke.
Say it again.
Cora Rourke.
Cora Rourke. Yeah, that's a cute name. And which is your artwork? Point to it.
This is mine. We're doing a hero at Expedition School. We are making plaques to memorialize our heroes.
Plaques to memorialize your heroes. What were you studying when you did this? He looks kind of like a Greek or Roman.
She.
Sorry.
And her name is Sybil Luddington. She was a revolutionary hero. She was 16 years old, and I don't know what else to say.
So she was an actual person that you studied, in the Civil War hero, Revolutionary War hero. So wonderful. You were studying about American history. Great. And what is your name?
Heather Rose Turley.
Heather Rose Turley. Well, very nice to meet you. And is this your work here?
Yeah.
What is this?
It's a symbol of a mountain. We're working on Native Americans.
Native Americans, and it's a symbol of a mountain. And did you, yeah, so what is it? Is this just paper here? It looks kind of wrinkly. It's kind of neat looking.
Yeah, actually we did the artwork, I think, and then we crumpled it up, then we actually spreaded it out, and then we hung it up.
To make it look authentic. Is it chalk?
No, pastel.
Pastel. Well, that's really nice. And here we have 13-year-old
Lee Williams.
Lee Williams. And what have you done?
This is a gesture drawing. It's not really related to an expedition, but in science we are studying the human body, and this is a picture of a person. A gesture drawing is just an offhand drawing that we usually go over it a couple times. I had about 5 minutes to draw this. Somebody stood in the middle of the classroom and modeled for me.
Okay.
And right here, this is Dargan Powers, but...
Rose Powers' son, yeah. Okay. That's wonderful. Well, we look forward to seeing all the art that the children are going to have on the walls and on pedestals and all over the place. So be sure and come. Our galleries are open 12 to 5, Tuesday through Friday, and on Thursday night from 7:30 to 11 p.m. during the acoustic jams. People can come and look. And Kelly might be here playing during the acoustic jam. She's here sometimes. What else did you want to add, Kelly?
Before we go, I wanted to let the community know that we want to thank the Arts Council for what they do in our community. The school has been a recipient of many grants throughout our 3 years of operation, and this year 2 of our grassroots grants that have been going on have to do. One is a dance, expressive arts and dance in our schools. So a local dance teacher has come into our classrooms and taught students in kindergarten through 3rd grade about movement and dance, and introduced them to that artistic expression. And also, this one hasn't happened yet, but middle schoolers will have the opportunity to visit the Art Mart. The Art Mart has a classroom space, a studio now, and so they'll get to be in a real studio space with an art teacher and do some.
I've heard of that. John Bond, one of our board members, is the owner and the art teacher there. Wonderful, yes. Thanks so much, Kelly, and thank you to the children.
Means more than having pretty hands. Today, Ellen's working on a cookbook.